The Minnesota Lynx start the postseason on Tuesday night against Washington and have home court advantage throughout the playoffs, a court they haven't played on all year. That's right. Renovations at Target Center landed the Lynx at XL Energy Center in St. Paul for their home games this season. But with the Wild starting training camp this week, the Lynx have moved yet again, this time to Williams Arena, home of the Gophers. David McCoy sat down with Coach Cheryl Reeve to talk about the playoff journey ahead of them.
Your first practice in Williams Arena today, your first time on the floor of your home court for the rest of the season. How did it go?
Well, the scrimmage part went fine in terms of getting our players out here, you know, kind of get a feel for the locker rooms, get out here on the floor, ran through our plays, that sort of thing. The basketball part didn't go as well as I hoped, but as far as the arena, the floor, and all that, it was great.
You mentioned when you don't know the building. How much goes into that? Because if you guys were playing in Target Center, there would be a certain familiarity.
Yeah.
Does that really matter that much when this is basically a road game with your home fans or a neutral site with your home fans?
Yeah, I think we're so routine based that it does make it a little more interesting. When we come here Tuesday for the first time, it's our first time that we're arriving at the game, going through a certain entrance, taking a certain path. It won't be until we've done it a few times that it starts to kind of get a little more routine. So you don't have a routine yet. It's not a hurdle that should affect your play. It's just more of, hopefully we'll have 6 home games. You know, by the time we get into our latter home games, it'll feel way more routine.
How do you feel about that? You got such a good team, and you'd think you'd want every last advantage that you can in the playoff series, especially when they were close as they were last year. And now you got this thing kind of thrown. It's not that you can do much about it, but is there a side of you that goes, man, if only they were doing that renovation next year or last year or something? I mean,
I mean, you can, but it's kind of like I tell our players. I mean, we could talk about those things. You know, we could talk about, you know, it would be great if we were, you know, comfortable, you know, in the cushy confines of Target Center, renovated. It would be great, absolutely. But what's the sense in talking about? Because that's not what's in front of us. And I think that's where, if your focus is on that, then, you know, you're setting yourself up for failure. We're not going to let something like this stand in the way of us competing hard and competing for a championship.
Speaking of home courts and home arenas, you guys had a 12% increase in your fan attendance this year, despite going across the river to St. Paul. More than 10,000 fans a night was your highest fan average attendance since your very first season in 1999. Why did that happen? Why was that?
Well, I can't say enough about our fans because what our league has seen, that when a team has been displaced for renovation of a facility, business was just really took a hit, really went backwards. And then when the team came back, it took time to build the fan base back. We're the first team to go through growth in a year where we were in a different home.
Double-digit growth.
Double-digit growth. And so I think the fans that went through a hardship, so to speak, in going from Minneapolis to St. Paul, you know, the 8 miles across 94, if that can be a hardship, they supported us in a time that we needed them most. So I can't say enough about our fans, our diehard fans that have been coming. And then now I can't say enough about East Metro, the fans in St. Paul that joined our group that said, you know what, I want to support this. And then hopefully that the ones that we've always gotten, the new ones, the double-digit growth, now when we go back to Target Center, we're that much stronger. We're very, very fortunate. You know, that's not something that should be understated. How impressive that was. I think it underscores, you know, that we do have the best fan base in all of the WNBA. We've created the best home court advantage.
When you guys start the game on Tuesday night, it's the first time you'll have Lindsay in 12 games. Not that you're going to give away your whole game plan here, but how do you get her going? Because it's one thing to practice and go through situations, but it's another thing to get on the floor for the first time in weeks, and all of a sudden it's a playoff game, right? How do you get that where you need it to be right off the bat? Well,
I think the work that we're doing this week is helping her towards that end. Way is, you know, a seasoned veteran, has been through a lot of playoff runs, so she gets it. She understands where she has to be. She also knows what she needs to work on, so she's taking time outside of practice. We're going to go into the game as we always do. If Lindsay is performing and looks great and, you know, whatever, then we're going to keep going down that path. If not, then it's next player up, just like any of other players that are performing or not performing.
You guys were this close last year to a title. What gives you the most confidence or optimism that you guys are on the other side of that, just this much, that you're going to win it this year?
You know, it's this close last year has like no bearing on this year. The league is different, the team's different, our team is different. I know that should serve as motivation, and on some level it does. but we're so kind of locked in on the idea of winning possessions at a time that I don't know that I can sit here and tell you that we're on the other side of that and okay, we've done this, now we can get over the hump, because the journey is different. What we're going to go through in these playoffs is so different than what we went through last year. And so there's no way to compare and go, well, if it goes exactly the same way, here's this one thing that we can do to get us over the hump. It has nothing to do with that. I think we got to just be hungry. That's what every team is going to be after is can we be hungrier than our opponent on every possession?
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're quite welcome.
The Lynx went 3-0 against Washington this season, winning each game by at least 14 points.